Krishna. So we'll sing Jai Radha Madhava first. And today we've been, from what I understand, doing 2 verses of the Damodar Astika prayers. So I'm assigned to do the last 2 verses. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Asto Tarasata Shri Shrimad His Divine Loving Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Bhividi Fandaracharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Asto Tarasata Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji Dham Ki Jai. So for many of the devotees, this month of Kartik, I think, is their favorite time of the year, because we get to sing the beautiful Damodar Astika prayers every night, and we get to offer candles. But I think the main thing is the beautiful singing of the prayer, right? It's such a sweet, sweet prayer. So the idea is, of course, that we're living in the material world, where we're basically, for the large part of our existence, suffering. There's a lot of problems going on in Kali Yuga. Kolor doshana he rajan asti he eko mahan gunan kirtana deva krishna sha mukta sangha paramvrajat. Just like if you go to the dump, of course we don't like to go to the dump, but just imagine the whole ocean is a giant dump of garbage. That's what Kali Yuga is. It's full of problems like a giant dump. So here we are, living in the midst of this massive, massive ocean of problems. Kali Yuga, it's inconceivable how crazy it is, right? It's really inconceivable. So, Eko hi asti mahangunan means there's one good quality, kirtanad eva krishnasya, that we can sing the glories of the Lord. Because Krishna comes only to display, like you see these beautiful paintings here, they're basically all Damodar Leela, really, I mean baby Krishna, young Krishna Leela. Krishna descends to this horrible material world to show us what real happiness is. Because we don't actually have any idea of what real happiness is. We're thinking we're enjoying our money, and we're enjoying our material facilities, and we're enjoying fame and power and sex and so many things. We think we're the enjoyers, but all this stuff isn't bringing us complete satisfaction. In fact, it gives us the opposite. That's why we have to take shelter of drugs and alcohol and so many crazy things, because we don't have any real alternative consciousness to be in besides being affected by this massive amount of suffering. So Krishna comes just to show pleasure. And one of the verses we sing, Iti drikshva lilabir ananda kunde. Krishna's pastimes, when he came to Vrindavan, the people there, because Krishna is the unlimited producer of spiritual ecstasy. He's the producer of love. He's the original lover, Radha and Krishna, and Mother Yashoda and Krishna. These are the original forms of love where all love comes from. Ours here is a reflection of those eternal permanent relationships. Ours is the perverted reflection of those relationships. So they came, Krishna came with all of his associates, and Ananda Kunde, Krishna was drowning everybody in ecstasy, in pools of ecstasy. We don't know what that means. So this verse today, the first one, Kuveratmajo badha murtyaiva yadvat tvaya mochito bhakti bhajo krito cha tata prema bhaktim swakam me priyacha namokshe graho me sti damodareha. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our holy scripture, it's in the other case, this is the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I believe here. In the other case, there's a set of the Srimad Bhagavatams. And in the 10th canto, where it talks about Krishna's pastimes, Prabhupada translated it into this book called the Krishna Book. Anybody here not have Krishna Book? Everybody has Krishna Book? Yes, no, maybe? Some people here do not have Krishna Book. Raise your hands. One honest person in the back there. Anybody else? So we need to hear Krishna's pastimes, because we need to understand that actually we're not enjoying life here in the material world separate from the Supreme Lord. We're suffering in the material world. Birth, it's a painful situation. The mother has to go through so much inconvenience. The baby in the womb is trapped in this situation. It comes out, it forgets everything on the shock of re-entry into the atmosphere of the external world instead of being in the womb of the mother. We forget everything. Birth, old age, disease. Anybody here who's old, do we enjoy being old? It's a bad deal. We've gotten a bad deal out of this situation here in the material world, because we don't enjoy getting old, we do not enjoy getting sick, and we don't enjoy the prospect of dying either. So this particular prayer is very exemplary of the relationship between a rich man's son. His name is Kuvera. He's one of the great demigods. He's the treasurer of the demigods. So we don't even understand what kind of wealth that means. We may have a few dollars in the bank, a few 100,000, a few million, even a billion, but that's nothing compared to what Kuvera has. Absolutely nothing. And he had these two of his sons. I'm not sure how many sons he had in total, but two of them, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, were typical rich punks, but the demigods version. They had too much money, so they didn't know what to do with themselves. So they decided to get the most beautiful demigoddess young girls and go bathing naked in this lake of Lord Shiva, right near Lord Shiva's place, near Kailash. So that's what rich people do, right? They get drunk and enjoy sex. That's what we see in this world. That's what people do when they're rich. They exploit the opposite sex and get drunk and kill animals and all these things. So here's these two guys, young men, but they're the sons of this very great, powerful, pious devotee of Lord Shiva, Kuvera, who's also a devotee of Lord Vishnu. But so they're there listening to the beautiful girls singing and bathing naked with the girls in the lake, and all of a sudden the most, we can put him at the top level, the most powerful devotee in the universe besides his father, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni. He's even more powerful, really. He can travel throughout the material and spiritual worlds at will. And he all of a sudden comes walking by the lake. It didn't say why, but he always comes at the right time, at the right place. So he bumped into these kids bathing naked in the lake, and part of the civilized culture of the Vedic culture is that you cover your body in front of people. You don't run around naked in front of people unless you're just a little baby. Otherwise, adults, that's the big taboo, is running around naked in front of other people. So the girls saw Narada coming, and they were like, whoa, this is Narada Muni. They weren't quite as drunk as the boys. So they immediately understood that they were in serious trouble if they didn't get their clothes on really quick. So they rushed out and with all haste, covered their bodies. So they didn't have the problem the two boys had. They were too drunk. You know how drunk people get, right? We've all seen drunk people. We may have even had the unfortunate experience growing up of having that problem ourselves. But you're not conscious. You become so unconscious. So they didn't realize that Narada Muni was even there. So Narada Muni sees the two boys and he's like, oh my God, you guys are supposed to be pious. You're the sons of the great Kuvera. But look at you. You're just drunken fools, basically. So he said, you need to get purified. And I'm going to help you along with that. So he says, because you enjoy being naked so much, you get to become trees. Because trees stand naked, right? They stand there for how many years? So many years, sometimes even in California, the redwoods and other places, there's these 5,000-year-old trees, or a lot older. So they got cursed by Narada to become trees, and they pleaded with him, oh, we're really sorry. Can you give us some kind of special concession on this curse thing? And of course, Narada Muni wanted to bless them. That's probably why he showed up in the first place. Krishna directed him there in his heart, so he said, okay, you can take birth as trees in Krishna's yard, in Krishna's courtyard. But you have to be there for like 100 years or so of the demigods, right? Some long period of time. And not only will you get to be trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and Krishna, but you get to remember what happened. While you're in a tree body, you're going to remember why you're in a tree body, because you offended a great sage, and you were acting like animals, or you're acting like trees even, and then you got put into this body, but you'll be delivered by Krishna, right? So then when they left, they got put into these tree bodies called the twin Arjuna trees. So all these pastimes are connected in this beautiful song. So Krishna, we know, got angry because Mother Yasoda was feeding him some milk, and she put him down because the milk product she was making for Krishna was overboiling on the stove. So she put Krishna down midway in her breastfeeding. So Krishna got very angry. He was like, why you put me down? I'm still hungry. So while she was tending the kitchen, Krishna went and broke a pot of yogurt or ghee or whatever it was, churned butter from the yogurt, and ate it with false tears in his eyes. He was angry. And then he went into the next room to break another pot to feed monkeys some yogurt and stuff. And then she came back and saw that he was gone from where she put him, and there was this broken pot with butter all over the place. And she goes, oh, Krishna's being a real rascal, but he got away because he knew he did bad. So she went looking for Krishna, and she picked up her little stick to scare Krishna. And so she found Krishna, and Krishna ran from her. And while she was running, she got really tired. All the flowers fell out of her hair. She was running after little Krishna, but he was easily outrunning her. And then Krishna decided, well, she's really trying hard to catch me. She's my mother after all, so I'll let her catch me. So he slowed down, and she tied him to this grinding mortar. And so then she left again. She left him tied up. And Krishna was like, really? First you don't feed me. You put me on the ground. Then you chastise me, and then you leave me tied up here. He said, now I'm going to really do something bad. So Krishna sees these two trees, and he goes, oh, yeah, Narada Muni. He cursed these two demigod boys. They're the ones in those two trees. So I'll go yank those trees over and cause a big disturbance, because these are huge trees. These weren't small trees. So Krishna goes over there with the grinding mortar, and he pulls the rope and yanks the trees down, and these two, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, come out of the trees in their celestial bodies with all their crowns and all their outfits on, and they offer obeisances to Krishna. And they circumambulate the Lord, and the Lord instructs them, now you practice devotional service for the rest of your lives. And because you've been chastised and purified, you've gotten my association by Narada Muni's blessings, by the Guru's blessings. You've got my association. So now, keep it together, keep practicing, and you'll go back to Godhead in this lifetime. And so they circumambulated him and took off. And then everybody came out because they heard the trees crash, and it was just Krishna there by himself. And Mother Yasoda and Nanda were like, what happened? They couldn't tell why the trees fell down. And Krishna's little baby buddy said, well, actually what happened was Krishna came and he yanked the trees down, and some of the people were like, no, that's too far-fetched. Little baby Krishna can pull these two big trees down? No. But other people thought, Krishna is pretty fantastic. Maybe he did do it. And they told Nanda, it might be true. Your boy is really special. And Nanda was like, yes, he is. But the idea is that we're in the material world, and we're obsessed with material happiness. We're obsessed. We think we're going to get our good education, get our big house, get our big car, have a beautiful family, save a bunch of money, send it back home, bring our whole family over here to America, and we're going to enjoy our prestige of being in a really good neighborhood with a big house and a big car and a big education, and we're suffering. We're suffering because we don't know what real happiness is. We don't know what bhakti is. We think, well, I have bhakti for my family. No, that's not actual bhakti. Bhakti is described as Vishnu bhakti, not Shiva bhakti, not Brahma bhakti, not your family bhakti, not Bharat bhakti. Krishna or Vishnu bhakti only. That's the real only definition of the word. Only applies to Vishnu and Krishna, this devotion. So we sometimes, as described here, we do stupid stuff. We do the wrong things, and we have to get a bad karmic reaction for it. They were going to get put in the body of trees anyway, right? That was their karma. They're responsible humans, and they shouldn't have been running around naked like the way they were doing. So the karma for acting like that is to get put in the body of trees. And Prabhupada also says the Mayavadis get put in the body of trees in Vrindavan. Those who deny Krishna's personality and deny devotion to Krishna as a karmic reaction for their ignorance and their offensive mentalities, they get put into bodies of trees also. So karma is meant to purify us, to give us understanding, some realization, just like old age. Old age is meant to purify us, because we realize, oh my God, I have unlimited time now. I'm not going to be here much longer. I gotta really understand what the human form of life is. So now that Kuvera and Manigriva got the reaction, and then they got Krishna's association. So as humans, we have the opportunity to learn to hear properly of what is the real purpose of human life. So Narada Kuvera and Manigriva didn't know until Narada Muni came along and gave them a strong lesson. You gotta become trees, guys. You blew it. But it's only for a little while. Only for 100 years. Celestial years. Only 100 years. They live for hundreds of thousands of years on the heavenly planets. So we have to take the Lord's advice in the Bhagavad Gita when he says that this world is like when you go to buy a car, it'll say on the window all the specs of the car, how much weight it weighs, how big the engine is, the gas mileage, the warranty. So there's like a statement, right? Or you buy some product, there's a warranty and a statement. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita gives this powerful statement that this world is dukkhalayam. What does dukh mean? Miserable. Dukkha, right? And then what does ashashvatam mean? It means it's temporary. So here's the creator, Krishna, saying this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So why are we trying to enjoy something that doesn't have enjoyment in it? It has the illusions of enjoyment. It has the reflective properties of enjoyment, but they're not real. It's like if you take some pots and you put them outside in the sun, you'll see the pot reflecting the sun. The water in the pot will reflect the sun, right? But it doesn't have any qualities of the sun except for some brightness a little bit. But it's nothing compared to the actual sun. So we're in this temporary material world where it's only a perverted reflection. It's not even a real clear reflection. It doesn't have the same properties as the spiritual world. So Krishna's holy names, Krishna's devotional service, the association of those who are hearing and chanting about Krishna getting purified, the association of Prabhupada when he came and he just translated these books and everything, and the process of devotional service, if we take it seriously, then we'll begin to experience the purification and gradually begin to taste happiness as we push ourselves to hear and chant. We have to push. The last verse, you could talk for days on this one verse. Sorry. So I got to do two verses. The other one is Namaste Stu Damne Spuradipti Damne Twadyo Darayata Vishvasha Damne Namo Radhikayai Twadiya Priyayai Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Tubhyam. So Lord Brahma was born from the abdomen of Vishnu, right? So that's the understanding of the Vedic understanding of the creation. So we're living in a created atmosphere. We didn't create it. The scientists do not know how it was created. They get some idea, right? And then they have to try and create a theory to prove that idea of how they think it was created. It's all just speculating. Oh, wow, we saw a meteor, or we saw, something with our telescope, our Hubble, right? There's 4 Hubble telescopes on like weather balloons. They're not even satellites, they're on balloons. And they're taking photos all over the place of all these different things. And somebody's like, oh wow, there's something really interesting in this particular shot from the Hubble telescope. Now we think we know how the universe was created. So let's create a philosophy. Let's create a story around our idea. But the Vedas say no. And the Vedas say that Lord Brahma, created from Lord Vishnu, created this material world. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the 2nd canto, chapter 5, Narada Muni himself is asking Lord Brahma about how he created, how he is the secondary creator, that Lord Vishnu created everything, and he gave Brahma the power to create. So even in these beautiful prayers, we're being confronted with an opposite opinion to what our modern American and other places that have scientific so-called research that's not proven. They can't verify their claims of how the universe was created. There's no verification of that. But in the Vedas, you have these great saintly persons who are speaking directly to Lord Brahma, the creator, and then Narada, who was listening to Brahma, described the entire creation to him. He told it to Vyasadeva, who wrote the Vedas 5,000 years ago. And then he told it to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. And then when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you're hearing Sukadeva and Sutta Goswami, who was there when Sukadeva was speaking. So you got this parampara, this succession of teachers who aren't changing a word. In fact, Sukadeva Goswami, before he began to describe the creation to Parikshit Maharaj is going to die in 7 days, so he's sitting there with Sukadeva, hearing the Bhagavatam, and Sukadeva is in meditation, and he's praying, please, my dear Lord, please be pleased upon me. You're the glorious one who's created everything, maintaining everything. You're the one who's the source of the spiritual and material worlds. Please be pleased upon me, and please give me the inspiration to make sure I don't make any changes, and that you in my heart give me the exact thing to say, because he's a pure devotee, so the Lord can speak to him in his heart. So, our philosophy, meaning the Vedic tradition, is based on pure honesty. Now, if you go to anybody who's doing research for some company, right? They may be researching medicine, or may be researching different things, right? How many different kinds of things are there research being done on? It's like you can't even count. So, but if you lose your job because your grant money has been cut, anybody here lost their job because of grant money being cut? Any of you researchers here? Must be somebody, right? Or you know somebody. You lose your job because there's no more money, and there goes your research. So you're being paid to do research, to come up with some theory or something, and if you don't get paid, you're like, hey, you can throw that research right in the trash because we're not going to pay you anymore. And now it's irrelevant because now we don't need it because we don't have any more money. So they're really just making money off of things that they're researching. Anybody who's ever done like medical research for medicines, I know people who have developed, worked for years on medicines, and all of a sudden funding is gone. Whoop! They quit the job. They have to quit. They get fired, and they have to go find another research job somewhere. So the Vedas aren't about speculating and researching. They're about accepting the truth from the right authority. So Krishna created Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu created Brahma, And then Mother Yashoda tied Krishna up with this rope, right? So we respect Mother Yashoda's effort to tie up Krishna, and we offer obeisances even to the rope, because we're like, anything in relationship to Krishna's beautiful pastimes is considered spiritual and holy. So then we offer obeisances to Srimati Radharani, who is the consort of Krishna, and we cannot understand that relationship. I'm sorry. Anybody in this room thinks they can understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, you're in dreamland. Because we can't understand it because we're in material consciousness. We think we're these bodies. We think sex in this world is what's going on with Krishna and Radharani when we see these paintings. We have no clue. So that's why we come to the temple and we worship Krishna, who is obviously the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to the Vedas, and we don't worship him like Krishna in Vrindavan. We worship him as Lakshmi Narayan, with all the rules and regulations, all the meditations, all the prayers, all the purification, so many rules. You can't even go in the room back there unless you're wearing clean, pure cotton to go inside the room, the room where they take care of the deities. And to go on the altar, you also have to take a bath, be completely clean, have all your tilak on, and be in meditative consciousness just to get up on the altar. What to speak of dressing the deities or doing artik. You have to have a lot of qualifications just to go up there. So that's why we take initiation, then we get second initiation. So it's taken very seriously, the purification needed to try to understand Krishna. Just to try. That's why Krishna says, Janma karma chamedivyam. Just try to understand, Prabhupada says. Just try to understand why Krishna takes his birth, right? Why he appears. So, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, first thing is described as the creation. And when you read Bhagavad Gita, what do you read about Krishna? I am the light and the sun and the moon. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. I am the strength of the strong. He's the power behind all of the powers that we have, our intelligence, our capacities, our wealth. Krishna is the source of all of that. And as a super soul, he's giving us the intelligence we think is our own intelligence. It's not even our intelligence. We're not even equipped to be within the confines of matter. We're spiritual beings. We're stuck in matter. Therefore, the Supreme Lord as a super soul accompanies us to give us the intelligence how to function in this crazy situation where we're in complete illusion, thinking that we're these bodies. It's the Supreme Lord in our hearts giving us the brains to understand, give us the intelligence to even function in this crazy world. So, the point of the class is that all the pastimes of the Lord, the point of the pastimes is that we learn how to become dependent on the Lord and see that He is the supreme controller and we're the tiny, tiny, loving servants of the Lord. So, that's the purpose of this month, the month of Kartik. That's the purpose of your coming to this temple. You may come here with many, many desires to worship God for some desire, but the real purpose for coming to a temple and for coming to any holy place is to hear the Lord's instructions and the Lord's, about the position of the Lord and our relationship with the Lord. Sambandha, as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita. First thing is, we're not the body. Who are we? We're spirit souls. What does a spirit soul do? Spirit soul serves God in order to be happy. What is that service? Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto mam, manmana bhavamat bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. We have to get out of illusion And that getting out of illusion process makes us happy because it purifies our consciousness. It allows us the experience being connected to Krishna on our beginning level, and it makes us feel very happy more than anything else. Even just the beginning levels of Krishna consciousness are way more happy than the so-called happiness of the wealthy, influential, beautiful, powerful people of the material world. They're much more miserable because they have too many facilities, like these two boys. They're miserable. They couldn't go and enjoy the beautiful girls in the lake unless they were drunk. Right? You got to be a little wacky to think you can try to enjoy this material world. You have to be intoxicated on some level. Because you realize if you've tried enough times to enjoy, you realize it doesn't make you happy. So when you try it again and again and again, and it still fails, then you take to intoxication. And you think, well, at least I can dull my mind out and not experience all the misery of frustration because I'm not happy in this material world. So the real process of happiness is to gain touch, to come in touch with Krishna, who's the source of unlimited happiness, and start to get purified by chanting 16 rounds on our beads, starting in at least chant one round, and work your way up, and start to offer your food to Krishna, and start to hear about Krishna, because there's no end to the amount of suffering that we're going through in this material world, and it is never going to stop. The only thing that can stop you from suffering is to add transcendence into your consciousness, is to add Krishna into your consciousness, and allow him to purify you so you can start to become happy. Anybody have any questions or comments? I don't know how much time I got left. I'm probably over time already. Huh? Wow, thank you. I didn't know because, we started a little late today. So, anybody have any questions or comments about the class here? Yes? Yes.
Salvation and liberation.
Salvation and liberation. The Vedic conclusions are, the Vedic system of culture is Dharma, religiosity, Artha, economic development, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama means to enjoy your senses with your material development, and then moksha, which means liberation from all the misery, because you realize after you've gone through all that stuff that you're still miserable. And even though you're in a cultured way of doing things, you're not happy yet. So then it requires liberation or moksha. So there's different kinds of liberation. The soul, have three aspects. We're eternal. We're full of knowledge, which means we're conscious, and we understand what Krishna teaches. Sambandha Abhideya means the relationship, and Prayojana means the full-on practice. So, the soul, there's liberation where we think we can merge into the light. That's the Vedic conclusions. Brahman, there's three different aspects of the Absolute Truth. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabhyate. Brahman means the eternal aspect. So some people here in the room are thinking the Absolute Truth is merging into the eternal light. Okay? But that only covers one aspect of yourself. You also have knowledge, consciousness, the ability to have relationships, and bliss, the relationship directly with Krishna or with the Supreme Lord. So when you go to the light, you have to come back to the material world again because you haven't fulfilled your desires yet. You may develop the desire to go back to the effulgence, the Brahman effulgence, and you may still have material desires in your heart. But because you're suffering so much, You think there's no alternative to this suffering besides getting into the light. Or the Buddhists say nirvana means stop existing. The original Buddhism says don't exist anymore. That's the goal. Because we're suffering so much, better just stop existing. So those are a certain type of liberation, right? In a sense, where you're trying to cease suffering, but in an incomplete way. So the process of, that's the impersonalists and the Buddhists. Then you have the yogis who practice the original Ashtanga yoga. They learn how to meditate on the Paramatma feature of the Lord in your heart. So they get a different realization. They learn how they're eternal, and they also learn that there's some kind of relationship and conscious knowledge about the partial expansion of the Lord in the heart. So then you get a secondary kind of liberation where you become conscious of the Supreme Lord in your heart. Then the third liberation, third aspect is the bliss. It means that actually you get in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, the full manifestation, the full-fledged Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? The one who's the source of everything, who's the source of all eternal happiness and bliss and loving relationships like you see in these paintings. It's all about loving relationships in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, the Goloka Vrindavan planet. So within that liberation of understanding that we're the servants of the Lord, there's different varieties of liberation. Do you know what they are? Okay, in English. Because nobody here knows what you're talking about. Okay, there's different kinds of liberation. Sayuja is the first one we mentioned, where you merge into the Brahman, right? The second one is you get to take birth on the planet of the Lord and have the same kind of form. That's Swarupya, right? Huh? Lokya, and then there's Swarupya where you have the same form as the Lord, the form, Narayan form, right? And then, then you have the same opulences as the Lord, because you're living with the Lord as the servant of the Lord. So the servant enjoys the same opulences, because you're serving the Lord with those opulences, and they exist there. The Lord is all opulent. He's not a pauper. The Lord has unlimited opulence. And what's the next one? And you get to live near the Lord, right? So there's all these different liberations, but the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, they accept that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who's the Lord of the Gopis and the Lord of Vrindavan. So the kind of liberation that is taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and presented by Srila Prabhupada is that we want to go back to Krishna's planet called Goloka Vrindavan, and in the highest form of liberation, it means we get to lovingly be with Krishna and not even know that Krishna is God. We get to be Krishna's friend, we get to be Krishna's elder, we get to be Krishna's lover, we get to be Krishna's servant, and they don't even know Krishna is God. They just love Krishna. So those are the different kinds of liberation. Is that clear? Salvation means what do you want to be saved from, right? So you're suffering, so you want to be saved from your suffering. That's a general term. Liberation is a little bit more developed, because liberate means you have to go somewhere. Salvation means the concept of getting out of the misery, right? Yeah. And then liberation means you get, and then what we just described are all these different methods of going. So Krishna says, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Say again? Pitrin Yanti Patir Gataha. Yeah. So Krishna says if you worship the ghosts and spirits, you get to go to the ghosts and spirits. If you worship your ancestors, the Pitris, then you get to go to your ancestral planets. And then if you worship me, you get to come to me, Krishna says. Ghost spirits, ancestors, demigods. You can worship the different devotees on the different higher planets, and you get to go there. You can worship, like they spent $20 billion and 20 years worth of research to go to the moon for a few minutes and dig up some dirt, which was very useful, right? We got some buckets of dirt, yay! And we got a few rocks, yay! We spent 20 billion to cross the skies to bring back a little dirt and a few rocks. So that was a real wonderful, liberating experience, right? It was useless. When all of you came here, most of you came from India, did you think once you got to America you just kiss the ground, get back on the plane and head back to India? Right? Of course not. You came here to make money and utilize your good brains to get good education so you can make a good, future for yourselves. So, as human beings, we have to consider now what liberation really is. What is the real gain of your being a human being? Why are we humans? Just to eat better than the dogs and cats? To sleep on a better bed than the dogs and cats? Instead of running on 4 legs, now we have electric cars to run around in? What's the difference? What's the real gain? So, Bhakti Yoga liberation means to realize that this material world is a hopeless, bad deal. Hopeless. You're going to grow old, get sick, and die, and all the stuff you worked for is all going to be taken away from you. So why? Are we that less intelligent that we're willing to work our, as we say in America, work our tails off to, make it, and the one with the most toys dies? Are we really that stupid? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a word called pramata, which means madness. And Prabhupada said, if you don't accept God, you're a madman. And one of the professors said, Prabhupada, wouldn't it be better to say that they're dumb or stupid? So Prabhupada raised his hand, he said, madness is the sum total of all stupidity. And madness, stupidity, the sum total. So Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita that, you know what he calls people that don't surrender to him? Mudha. Murk, right? Everybody knows that word here in Hindi, murk, like fool. An ass is like a fool. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it describes different animals that are stupid, like the camel. The camel likes to eat thorns because it really has a long neck, so it can get up to these trees that have these flowers that have thorns on them. Chewing the thorns, it cuts the tongue of the camel, and he thinks that the thorns mixed with the blood's a really good taste. But he's eating his own blood. So human beings are working so hard to make money and so hard to do whatever. They're spending all their blood, so they're like the camel. The donkeys, like in India, everybody enjoys seeing the washermen stack the laundry like 10 feet high on the back of these little donkeys, right? They're carrying all this, and he has this little bunch of dried grass with a little bit of green on the outside. Here, come and eat. And the donkey's so stupid, he's like, oh, that looks really tasty. Let me run for it, let me get something to eat. There's grass on either side of the road. So he's an idiot. And then he goes to have sex with a female donkey, and she kicks him with her hind legs in the face. Right? Anybody who's been to India has seen this before. Dogs, and then there's the pigs. The pigs are indiscriminate in what they eat, right? They eat stool. You go to India and you go to see the open sewers, and there's all these pigs living inside of all the filth. And they have sex with their daughters, their mothers, their wives. They don't make any distinction. They eat filth. So humans who act like that with no discrimination, they get to become pigs in their next life. And the people that act like dogs, dogs are looking for a master, right? What good is a dog without a good master? Right? If he's got a house, he can bark at you and protect the house, right? But a street dog, they're useless. Nobody likes them. So we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on getting really good jobs, and then we have to go door to door begging for a master. Will you please accept me? I've got this degree. I know how to do so much. I'm so intelligent. I'm from India, for crying out loud. We have the biggest brains. Will you please accept me as a servant so I can make a few bucks and have my family, right? So that's considered to be kind of like the doggish mentality, looking for a master. So liberation means to get past all this suffering, all this ignorance, to come to the platform where we actually understand how to be a real spiritual being. I took all the time up for your answer. I hope that was okay. Sorry if anybody else has a question. What time is up, right? Huh? Oh, yeah. Anybody else have a question? Was that okay? That was a long answer to it, but it's a very interesting question because people don't know what liberation is or salvation.
So like Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So my question is like on our path to spiritual, like on our spiritual path, we will come across like material things that will give us enjoyment or pleasure. So like, is it wrong to enjoy these materialistic things even when we are consciousness about, like if we have consciousness?
No, it's not wrong because it's a necessity. You have to eat, right? So we eat food offered to Krishna. Anybody here hate eating? Right? We all like good cooking. We're all into that. It's part of life, right? We like to have families, right? So we like sex. But Krishna says, Kamosmi Bharatarshava. He says, I am sex, but done according to religious principles. So then you learn how to spiritualize your sex. You learn how to have a divine child come into your life by your devotional meditations before you. So yes, you can have these things, but you have to learn how to do it spiritually.
Like what about like luxurious items or luxurious things?
They're a waste of time and money. How much money do we spend on useless stuff? Anybody here ever wasted money on stuff you didn't really need? Everybody, right? We always do that. Oh, look, there's some cool thing on the internet. Ooh, a new this or a new that. And we'll blow the money on it, and it won't make us any happier. So yeah, so that's why Krishna says, if you want to know the truth, and you want to be a successful spiritualist, then you must accept a bona fide spiritual master coming from Krishna, from his succession of disciplic line, the Brahma, Gaudiya, Madhva Sampradaya, or the Sri Sampradaya, or the Kumara Sampradaya, and what's the other one? Rudra Sampradaya. But those aren't really that active. But the Hare Krishna movement, Lord Brahma's succession, we're very active. So it requires guidance for us to understand how to purify our psychology. Arjuna was in great anxiety, right? He was like, oh no, I don't want to kill everybody, then I won't enjoy the kingdom. Who am I going to enjoy the kingdom with? Everybody knew the Kauravas hated Arjuna and the Pandavas. Duryodhana hated them, tried to kill them so many times. But Arjuna was put into illusion by Krishna so that Krishna could address this mundane psychology of Arjuna and purify it to give him spiritual intelligence. So it requires spiritual intelligence to become a devotee of Krishna. That's why we have all these books. That's why we have these classes. That's why we have satsangs at your homes and Bhakti Shastri tests to learn these things properly. So yeah, you can still enjoy in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, as humans, we must perform sacrifice, right? But we're humans, so we still have to fulfill our necessities and fulfill our desires, but we still have to, as humans, get purified. Otherwise, we may not be humans in the next life. Anybody here want to be a dog or a cat in the next life? Somebody may say, well, I like dogs. You know, because we're in America. When you go to India, you want to be a dog? No. You don't want to be a grungy street dog in India, right? It's like, oh my God. So, we have to understand there is karma. Everything we do as humans, we get a reaction for. So we have to learn how to sacrifice and please the Lord so that we get purified, so we stop doing stupid karmic stuff with our money. We stop misspending our money and misspending our intelligence and start learning how to focus on meditation on God, on Krishna, so we can purify ourselves gradually. We have to learn how to stop causing our own sufferings. That's karma. You kill an animal, you have to be killed in the next life. In the Vedas it says you sacrifice a goat to Durga Devi, right? And when you're sacrificing that goat, you go to the ear of the goat and say, my dear goat, I'm killing you now, but in our next life, I'll be the goat, you'll be the human, and you get to kill me next. That's meant to make us think like, oh, really? I'm going to have to become a goat and get killed? Does that sound like a really good deal to anybody? So, spiritual knowledge and gurus, people that know something, they're willing to get in your face and to challenge you, right? Why you wake up, sleeping souls? Wake up, sleeping souls. We're in the lap of illusion. Do something about it. Learn Bhagavad Gita, learn Krishna consciousness, learn Bhakti Yoga. I'm finished, right? My time is up for sure now. I'm 1 minute over. All right, thank you very much for listening. And please enjoy the beautiful ceremony of the Artik, of the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation, called the Archa, or the deity incarnation. This is not a statue of stone. This is an incarnation of the Lord, called the Archa Murti, the divine form of the Lord that we can see. Not mundane. Krishna created all the energies in this world, and he can utilize his energy to be present for us so that we can worship him and get purified. It's not just some Hindu ritual that your grandmother used to do. There's a really good reason for all this stuff. And if you don't know, you can learn by asking people that know. Alrighty. Hare Krishna. Enjoy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji Bhagavan ki. No Paramanandi.
Hare Hare. His great Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu ki jai. Let's give him